Show AEW Dynamite review for October 26, 2022. Outside of MJF segment on the show tonight, it was pretty much boring. Gotta have something else to interest people. I don't know why they can't. They just do boring matches. But yeah, outside of MJF, you gotta have something else. Anyways, let's get to the show tonight. First match is Daniel Garcia and Chris Jericho versus Cesaro and Wheeler Yuta. Jericho hit a drop kick on Cesaro. Back from the break, Cesaro tossed Jericho into the air and hit an uppercut. Jericho hit a code breaker for a 2 count. Cesaro powerbombed Chris Jericho, and then Cesaro, so he did that famous swing on Jericho, and then he had Daniel Garcia was going to attack him, and he had him on his back, so it pretty much swung both of them while Garcia was on top of his back. And Cesaro hit an uppercut on Parker outside the ring, and then Cesaro hit the neutralizer on Jericho for the wing. Segment in the back with Bryan Danielson. Says he's frustrated, lost to Jericho. Frustrated, Garcia turned his back on me. And he said he was frustrated with Wheeler Yuta in the interview last week. And then Wheeler Yuta and Cesaro show up. And Cesaro pretty much trying to break up Wheeler Yuta and Bryan, like they're about to fight. He's like, next week we're gonna sit down together and discuss this like adults. They're probably gonna beat the shit out of each other next week. Another segment in the back, the Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho just pretty much issues an open challenge next week for Ring of Honor, so he's probably gonna be another Ring of Honor wrestler. Bury the whole company. Next up, we got a number 1 contenders match for the tag titles. Keith Lee and Swerve versus FTR. Before the match starts, the Acclaim shows up. They set up chairs on the ramp and just watch the match. Keith Lee hit a crossbody on FTR. Back from the break. Dax Harwood hit a German suplex on Swerve. Cash Wheeler hit a dragon suplex on Swerve for a near fall. And then Swerve and Lee hit a powerbomb combo on Cash Wheeler for a 2 count. Dax hit a slingshot powerbomb on Swerve. And then Dax superplexed Lee. And Cash hit a headbutt for a near fall. So superplex, that's Keith Lee weigh like 300, 350. And then FTR hit the big rig. Swerve makes a save. And then Swerve low blows Dax Harwood while the ref is occupied with Keith Lee. And then we got a segment with MJF. Renee Paquette interviews him. MJF says Mox is mid. And then the beginning of this segment, he pretty much just mocks John Moxley. They're doing this little walk with the shoulders and shit. Doing an impersonation of him. And then MJF says Regal decided to tell him he wanted to use brass knucks because he needed to. And then he says he won't use his diamond ring because he won't need it. Says he's fighting every scumbag who told me I wasn't good enough. Stokely Hathaway comes out, and then Max knocks the microphone out of his hand. He tells Stokely, don't go near Moxley because he wants him at 110% at full gear. Pretty obvious he's going to turn. MJF is going to turn babyface as soon as he wins the title. Next up, we got Sammy Guevara versus Bryan Danielson. Sammy hit the cutter on Bryan for a near fall. Bryan hit a drop kick. Sammy Guevara hit a moonsault jumping off the top rope to the outside. That was fucking nuts. Back from the break, Bryan hit a clothesline. Bryan hit a dive to the outside. Then he hit a drop kick. Sammy hit a Spanish fly for a 2 count. Bryan locked in the crossface. Guevara got to the ropes. And then Sammy hit another Spanish fly, this time off the top rope. Bryan hit the running knee, then he did the stomps to the head. Then Bryan applied a triangle choke, and he was elbowing him in the head like a few times, and then Sammy Guevara passes out. So Bryan Danielson breaks his losing streak and finally gets a win. And we'll see where this thing between him and Wheeler Yuta goes next week. Probably gonna end up in a match. All right, next up we got Jamie Hayter versus Riho. Riho hit a diving splash to the outside. Jamie hit a suplex. Riho hit a stomp to the chest. Jamie hit a brain buster for a near fall. Riho hit a dragon suplex. Hayter hit a clothesline for the win. And then after the match, Tony Storm shows up on the entrance ramp, just holding the title up. Probably gonna have a match soon. Next up, we got main event. John Moxley versus Pento El Zero Miedo for the world title. Penta hit a dive to the outside of the ring, back from the break. Moxley hit a belly-to-belly suplex through Penta into the corner. He doesn't land flat on his back, the commentators are saying. Apparently it's better to land that way instead of on your back, I guess. I don't know. Penta hit a sling blade for a 2 count. And then Moxley hit a DDT on the steel steps that were set up outside the ring. And then he hit a paradigm shift for the win. After the match, Firm and Stokely Hathaway come out to attack John Moxley. And then MJF, he shows up. He's got this look on his face like he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. So he's walking back and forth on top of the ramp. And then eventually he finally comes down to the ring. And he tells the Firm, he pretty much just pushes every member of the Firm. And then because he warned Stokely Hathaway, hey, you don't want to attack Moxley. I want him full health. And then they beat the shit out of MJF. And then they put him through a table outside the ring. And yeah, so that was pretty much it for Dynamite. Just mostly a boring show outside the MJF segment. All right, see you guys.